had to reinvent the perfect mom that I wanted to be.
Wow.
It is, people underestimate what role models do for you in your life. If it's your parents or other people that you look up to, they have such a big influence if they inspire you. So I didn't have that. I knew I didn't want to be like my mom.
Right.
So that was one guideline.
That was a start.
That was a start, which the bar was very low.
That's not really hard.
It wasn't very hard. And there were a few parts that my mom actually taught me. I have to give her credit for it.
Nice, yeah.
That I wanted to introduce. For example, she's very, very good with nutrition and food.
Oh, okay.
So all the cooking and all of my knowledge that comes from food is from her.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Entirely. She is a very smart woman, and she was meant for so much, but she just chose, when you have the decision to go either hard or lean into your weaknesses, she just leaned into her weaknesses and went into her vices.
I have also a question. Was she also physically abused by your father?
Physically, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so also to what we could help inform everybody is when you're a victim of domestic violence, people who are victims have a hard time leaving their abusers. So same thing, I grew up in an alcoholic home with an abusive father. And for the longest time, same thing. I hated my mom. I was so angry with everything. And when I learned about domestic violence, and then I learned how survivors of domestic violence, not only survivors, but then there's people who are permanently, people who are victims of domestic violence. It's a vicious cycle that they cannot get out of. So kind of like when you understand a little bit about when I got sober from alcoholism and I got sober from drugs, you learn the mental disease of it, you know? So I feel like that helps other people understand. My mom was a victim of domestic violence, and it's a vicious circle that they don't have the strength to get out of it.
It is and it is not, because in that home that I was living, it doesn't matter what cycle they went through. It's all the same. All of them went down the same route as their parents.
Right.
If it was drugs, alcohol, whatever it was, same as my mom. And for whatever reason, I had always the voice in my head that I'm not going to do exactly as they did.
Amen. Hell yeah. That's
I don't know why.
Yeah.
I was a little child, but my idea when I went into the home was very clear. I'm not going to go and live there. And my story that I was telling myself, I'm going to be the kid that's going to live in a home, be the top of her class, be the best at everything she does. I'm going to do the opposite of what everybody else would expect of me. And I did. But everybody around me went right down the route as their parents did.
Right.
And everybody around me, I went to live in that home and I realized how much shit is out there. The kids went through so much. There were so many kids that went through, the parents sexually abused them, their brothers. There were kids that were passed through the system. They were 3 and 4, I think, when they came to live with us teenagers, because they couldn't live with other little kids. They were underfed. They looked like somewhere from Africa. They were locked up in a room, and the foster parents were giving them only scraps here and there. Like, they were held like dogs in diapers, basically in a room, and they got scraps. I mean, it was so much evil to watch that I thought, oh my God, I really didn't have it that bad, and I need to make this spot open room for somebody else to come in. It doesn't matter how bad they had it at home. Every single one of them wanted to go back to their parents because the love for their parents was so big that they all wanted to go back. And I was the only one my in the entire home they had ever seen that said voluntarily, I don't want to live with my parents.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was the hardest thing for me to emotionally say I don't want to be with my parents at such a young age, but it was the best decision that I made. And I learned to separate my feelings from my actions very early on. If it's good for me, this is what I need to do. I don't care how I feel about it.
Right.
And that serves me
I'm
today.
so proud of you. Like you said, like you had so much courage and bravery to, we call it breaking the generational trauma
Yes.
of your family.
Yes.
Like you are the chosen one of your family
Yes.
who had the motherfucking
Yes.
balls to say, yeah,
Gives me goosebumps.
It stops with me. I'm not my mom. I'm not my dad.
Yes.
I'm not my history.
I'm not my history. And
Thank
I was
you.
such a young girl. It was a voice that I was following from within. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just trusting myself. That was it.
Would you say that that was your highest self, your future self, spirit, God, what would you call that inner voice?
Today,
Uh-huh.
today I would say it's the authentic voice of God.
I love
But back
it.
in the days, I didn't.
We didn't know.
No.
We didn't know what it was.
I just trusted by my intuition.
Well, I had no idea this was your story. I come from a very, very similar childhood. And same thing from a very young age. Like I remember at 5 years old wanting to pack my bags and packing my mom's bag and being like, we're leaving. And she's like, no, we're not. I'm like, he's going to continue beating you. And
Yes.
I couldn't comprehend in my head. Like every night I'm like, are we leaving yet? Are we leaving yet? Like
Yeah.
I couldn't comprehend.
Understand,
Why
yes.
are you here? Like you have a car, Mom.
Yes.
I'd always pack our bags and be like, why
Let's
aren't
go.
we leaving? And as I got older, I got to understand domestic violence and victims of domestic violence. There's like a toxic circle. And what I did know was I'm never going to be in a domestic violence situation. So today now I'm a very overly protective.
Yeah.
So if my best friend calls and says, oh my God, this man laid hands on me, like I'm going to pull up on him. Like, or if I'm on the street and there's a domestic violence, like I'm like
Mama Bear comes out.
yeah, like I'm like, really step to me, bro. Like I'll like,
You know why?
oh yeah, because I had to protect my mom the whole time. And my
Yes,
mom didn't have that voice.
You also are protecting the little girl that was stuck in that household.
Definitely.
You are being the person that you needed.
Yeah, always. Yeah, it's so true. So I'm very aware of that. So for me to this day, one of my triggers, which the only thing that could probably trigger me to get to like a rage is domestic violence, for me to witness it or for someone to attempt that on me. Like it literally, there's a where I'm like, okay, either I'm going to go out,
I'm gonna cut your throat.
yeah, I'm leaving on a gurney or I'm leaving in handcuffs. And you better knock me unconscious and run.
Yes.
Because there's that little, like you
Yeah.
said, like that rage of that 5-year-old, 15-year-old, 20-year-old, like that rage just never left me.
Yeah.
And it's also the fuel of, I'm never going to be a victim of domestic violence. I'm not going to let no man do that to me. And I'm definitely never going to let my daughter ever witness anyone put their hands on me, talk down to me, curse
Yeah.
at me. Like my daughter's only going to know what it feels like to be safe and protected.
We just go the
Isn't
opposite.
that the most beautiful feeling? Like I see what an amazing mom you are with your babies. Oh my gosh.
I'm very thankful, and people don't understand that everything that happened in my life made me to who I am today. So even the sexual assault, it made me turn into that beast and say, no more. This is it. Because I would have stayed home, and God knows what would have happened. It made everything made me who I am and was part of the puzzle. So it's all part of me. How could I not like it? It's all part of me, part of my story, and I love every part of it. Living in that home, people, the first thing when back in the day said that, they were like, oh, I'm so sorry. And I thought, you're sorry? Like it was a dream for me. It was so peaceful, and all of my
your prayer was answered
Yes,
at that time. That's
yes.
all you wanted. Was
And then
peace.
I see so many people that lived in their home, in their own household with their parents,
Terrified.
and not only terrified, they were just not be allowed to be themselves. I always felt bad for them.
Yeah.
It's just your angle. You're projecting your angle onto something that I was very, I mean, I'm so independent. I so much trust myself because of all of that.
Right.
There's nothing that I'm afraid of.
Your mom was a drug addict, right?
She got into opium. Yes.
Okay. So drug addiction, victim of domestic violence.
Yes.
And you decided that that cycle stops with you.
Yes, it wasn't really a conscious decision to say that cycle stopped with me. It was more like it just doesn't make sense. Everything makes sense to me. If a man is right, his world will be right. And I thought, why would I let somebody who is stronger beat me up? It doesn't make sense. It just
Yeah, right.
yeah. It's just, I mean, like, that's very weak of a man. Do I want to be with a weak man? For sure
Right.
not. So I never, ever had a boyfriend.
Be you.
No, not even
Yeah.
be close to it. It's not even a topic. It's a choice that you're making.
Yeah.
You're attracting that type of person. If you're in a domestic violent relationship, you're just very self-destructive, and
Yeah.
you are attracting whatever you're doing. You're looking for the cycle, and you're finding evidence that is going to support you that you're the victim of domestic violence. So that's your story, because that's what you saw at home. But you can rewrite the story.
How? If somebody's in that situation right now, what advice would you give to them?
I always start with the who,
Okay.
not
what does
how.
that mean? Explain that.
Means we have to see ourselves as a different person. You cannot change your behavior long term by doing something. You have to change identities, the way you see yourself. When you go after self-destructive behaviors, you see yourself as that person who is so little, who doesn't deserve it, who is always the victim. I always find the men that beat me up. I always attract the men that have no money. What you're saying is, I don't see myself having more worth and value. So you literally have to intentionally overwrite that with auto suggestions. It starts with your thought, you follow up with an action, and you do that consecutively every freaking day, what we call habits, until you believe, you're convincing yourself of something, until you believe that this is true. Nobody else can help you. Nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's going to rewrite the story for you. It's always going to be the same unless you change the story.
Okay. So let's get a little more specific. So a limiting belief that a woman would have in the situation is every guy's abusive with me.
Yes.
Okay, so let's say that's her limiting belief. Every guy's abusive with me. For some reason, I just always attract these overly aggressive men. How can she shift that belief system?
So the obvious is we separate from this person. Now, does it feel comfortable? No, it doesn't. We have to separate our feelings from our actions, because your feelings are leading you every time into the wrong direction. You have to realize that you're led by desires. Everything you do has a selfish desire behind it. You can gear towards good desires, and you can gear towards bad desires. So when you start controlling all of your desires that have been given to you, you start
so her desire to stay with this person, right?
her desire for love and attention,
Okay,
that
perfect.
she is getting the attention through acting in a way that she gets beat up.
Okay.
She says she doesn't want it, But then her thought and her actions of staying with this guy, trapping into the behavior that is going to trigger him, that's the story that you're writing over and over. So the first thing is, obviously, you need to separate. You're not going to like it. It's like a drug. You have to separate and say, no more. And then we go into, if you would start with me and work with me, I would remove all of the vices and we would get your mental and physical state first straight. The reason we do that is when you remove all the vices, you allow yourself to sit in the pain that we all experience, and it's part of life, and you're supposed to experience it because it's giving you all the hints that you need in life to get further and beyond, I'm a piece of shit.
I love this about you. We talked about this earlier, and you were literally like, I love pain. Why wouldn't you fucking feel pain? And I was, mind you, as an addict and alcoholic, I was like, we run from pain. But I loved when you said, you made a comment before when we were talking, and you literally like, but I love pain. Like, that's what fuels you to change. And I was like, okay, I need her to really like zone in on that, because as somebody who's in that kind of relationship, like you said, like, it's so like, feel the fucking pain of this person not being in your life.
There are so many parts to this. One is, we have been taught that we are supposed to be happy all the time. Mm-hmm. It's a fucking lie. Nobody is supposed to be happy all the time.
Huge
so
lie.
When you have a low, you are seeking to numb yourself with drugs, alcohol, toxic relationships, to feel something else than you want to feel.
To alter their state.
To alter the state, to escape reality. Because there is an underlying issue that you're not dealing with. Period. The other thing, period. The other thing is, so you sit in your pain and it feels really fucking awful. I have done that multiple times in the past year. And it feels awful. You feel like shit. But this is the universe talking to you. And this is the only way you can hear what you need to do.
Woo! Drum roll.
There's no other way, no other language than the voice inside of you is going to guide you. If you start going after your vices, whatever it is, you're not going to hear the voice. So we need to remove on my program all the vices, and you need to learn to sit. I give you tools. We're going to guide you through the pain. You're going to read and write. Writing lets you know about yourself. Reading inspires your imagination. So, and then we're going to do that first. We've set you straight. And then I have the next level where we work intentionally on your higher self, the elite program, where we really connect to your 10.0 version and see, where are we headed towards and where are the issues that are still holding you back.
Right. Because
the awareness is going to give you the light into your heart that you really need. But first things first, we need to remove vices and we need to get you physically in the best shape possible.
Yeah.
You will become more proud, more confident, and you can tackle life and all of your problems on an entirely different level than just sitting there and thinking, this is happening to me. No. You are making this happen.
Yeah, we're choosing it.
We're choosing it. So take control, make intentional changes, and you create your life versus just letting things happen to you.
Amen. I love this.
Yes.
I love this. And I just, again, the pain part. One thing I learned in sobriety, because as alcoholics and addicts, our thing is to, like, again, the vices, because we're so little scaredy cats. Oh my God, I'm a little scaredy cat. I want to feel a little pain. And the biggest blessing I ever learned is to feel unhappy, to feel pain, to feel angry, to feel frustration, because it allowed me to understand that I have rage. They're like,
and it's okay.
Yes. big fucking deal. Oh my
Yeah.
God, you're not going to die. Or I'm heartbroken. Oh my God, cry bitch. Like, not a big fucking deal.
Yes.
But it is a big deal to people who are afraid of it. And like you said, like just, again, you reminded me earlier when you were like, and pain, big deal. And I was like, oh God, that is so true. And one thing I learned, because a lot of people run from it, that's what the vices are for, is there is a beginning, a middle, and an end to every feeling and emotion. For some reason, like people that are afraid of pain think, oh, I'm going to feel it. I'm going to die. And
Yes.
then life's over. Like
Yes.
if you're going to jump off the...
Or this is going to be forever.
No, yeah.
Like that.
And one thing I always tell people, I'm like, feel it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not going to last more than an hour, maybe a day or two. At some point, you're going to get hungry. That's a different feeling. You have to pee. It just shifted. Like there's different you're going to feel 1,000 feelings within the day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's learning to process it. So for me, like I remember just being like, when I learned in sobriety, Deanne, there's a beginning, a middle, and an end. And when you end it, what happens is you've transmuted all of that energy that it would have been stored in my body
Yes.
if I would have had vices, if I would have drank, if I
Yeah.
would have done drugs, if I would have went out
Yeah.
and, run from relationship to relationship. All of that stuff would have been bottled inside me and caused this big hole in my heart.
Yes.
So feeling that feeling of heartbreak, it transmutes, right? And then when it gets to the end, the little red mark that goes, feelings ended, it's now alchemized into the fucking air. Nobody taught me that my whole life.
It is. It is a ball of energy. And when we literally, I mean, you can go, and this goes back to Tesla and Einstein too. It is energy that we store. So if you
Yeah.
do this too often, this is where people get sick, autoimmune or any kind of other diseases. I want to comment on that. There's the law of polarity. You will not be able to experience pain if there would not be a different feeling waiting for you. So there's always going to be contraction and expansion. If you feel pain, you have to remind yourself that there is light behind it. Once you pass through it, you are more aware because you have
Right.
processed it. And it's like a light bulb for me. Every time when I sit in pain, it's uncomfortable, but I get very excited now about what comes after.
Ooh.
I'm very excited. I write about it and because it's always a part of you that you're shining light on. So for me, our job is basically to become this entire light that is going to radiate back onto other people. It's like a diamond. So it's all foggy and cloudy in the beginning, but every person that you encounter and every problem is pointing into your heart, one part of you. And once you figure out why you have met this person and why you're encountering, why you have created this story to find this person and go through the pain, for example, heartbreak,
Mm-hmm.
then there's light on it. Light comes into it and the problem is gone. If you don't do this, the problems are going to reoccur in your life and you feel like you're stuck in a circle because you haven't learned your lesson. That's why it's reoccurring.
Ooh, I love that. I had like a little vision right now. I have like cartoon visions. And in my coaching program, I always explain to everybody, we have a toolbox and we have multiple millions of tools that go on. Every day you're going to learn a new tool to grow and expand. So right now I literally had like, it looked like a little Super Mario picture.
Yes.
So what I saw was, it's like a cartoon character and something bad's happening. And you know how sometimes like if you're playing a video game and some of these characters have superpowers, but you have to figure it out.
Yes.
So it's kind of like, I kind of saw like the little cartoon character had to go through a dark cave.
Yeah.
And he's like, but a child knows when he gets to the end of the dark cave because everyone else who has the video game knows there's superpowers in that cave.
Yes.
But that they have to go through the obstacles and the alligators and the punching and the explosions. And I literally saw that as, so for me now, when I want to run, when I'm uncomfortable, when I don't want to feel pain, I'm going to vision myself like, okay, Deanne, You need to go through this little
Yes.
dark thing. It's going to be uncomfortable. But then I saw like at the end, there's these fucking superpowers.
Yes.
Like I'm going to get these magical, like maybe electricity to my hands. Like,
That's literally, life is like a game. You get to the
Yeah.
next level of the higher plane, basically, if you solve all these problems for yourself. And then
there's a superpower from
there's a
each
super,
one.
and you literally will be more powerful because you are
Really?
charging the atoms
Like,
in your body to be all more positive than negative.
Oh
And
my
that's
God. I love that.
it is. You always choose. We are made out of atoms.
Yeah, we are.
So the flow state, in my opinion, is when you know how to control the positive side of your atom. So you charge your body with more positive atoms. And if it's a workout, a HIIT workout, if it's for me, a workout, self-talk, music is gonna do it for
Mhm.
me. And so whenever I get into flow state is really when my imagination opens up. And when my imagination will open up, that's the world I live in.
Ooh, I
And
love that place. I'm there all the time. I'm
there's
always
no
in
better
La La
place.
Land.
There is no better place. And that, I believe, is
Yeah.
actually our reality. This 3D is just a reflection of what happened last year or 3 months ago or 6 months ago.
Yeah.
It's just projected now. The time has caught up.
We're reaping what we sowed 4 months
Yes.
ago.
Yes. And honestly, I've been like, I started with Wes. I had no idea. The path illuminates as you walk it. I had no idea what I was getting into, but I knew what he was saying spoke to me.
Yeah, hold up. Do we have the before and after photo? Yeah. Yeah, let's introduce it right now because now we're going to talk about this photo.
Okay.
You meeting Wes and where you're at now.
Okay.
And what you transformed. And I'm going to pee real quick. So he's going to bring up the photo. So tell her when it's up and then talk about the photo, the before photo where you were at. Okay.
Okay. So when I started, this is how it started. I always was more or less healthy. I ate healthy. I was fit more or less. And I had 2 babies. One cesarean, the first one, and it had to be a cesarean. She was breech. Long story short, I was a stay-home mom. I had this white picket fence home. My husband was working, 2 beautiful children, but I always felt unfulfilled. And I felt very guilty about being in that position because I had everything most people wanted. So I always went back to my glass of wine. I always had a glass of wine in the evening. I was never the person who woke up in the morning and started drinking. I just liked my glass of wine. And sometimes I didn't even have it for 2 months or 3 months, but I always went back to it. And I couldn't imagine a life without my glass of wine or 2. Sometimes it was a bourbon, sometimes it was a scotch. And the higher the quality, the less guilty I felt about it. And one night I had a glass of wine and I turned to my husband and said, if it wouldn't be for my children, this life would not be worth living. And as these words left my mouth, I cried. And we talked about it a little bit and he went to bed. And that night, I'm not religious. I did go down onto my knees and I said, if there is a different life or anything else for me, please, I need help. I just need help. And the next day I listened always to Andy Frisella's podcast. And so I listened to his podcast and there was this man on his podcast, which is called Wes Watson. I didn't see him because I would have probably judged him. Being a bodybuilder, he's very big, tattooed, and he's very like just not the type of person I would have probably listened to. But I listened to him because he was on Andy Frisella's podcast, and everything he was saying was resonating with me. So I looked up his program and first actually signed up for his low level, which I received it, and it was just a calendar with workouts. And I thought, this is way too easy for me.
Oh,
So,
bam.
yes. I mean, I had done 75 hard, and 75 hard was not hard
I don't
for
know
me.
what that is.
It's Andy Frisella's. It's like
Oh,
a structured
okay.
day too.
Okay.
So I reached out through his website, and we started texting about his mid-level. And you know how Wes is. I wanted to do a month, and he said, fuck this. I'm not going to work with you if you do a month. Who are you? And I fell asleep. The next morning, I reached out, and
You're like, I ain't no bitch.
yeah, I said, let's do the 3-month. And I said, Ryan, this is so much money, $750 for a program. It's like, I have to really do this if I'm spending
That
this
much
amount of money.
Yeah.
It was a lot of money, I thought. After 2 months, I reached out to him. This program was changing my life so drastically that I said, Wes, how do I keep you in my life? And he
Literally,
said,
that's how I feel. You can't leave me.
and he said, what do you mean? He said, you're not done. And I said, but I need you in my life. And he sent me the mid-level for a year. He said, you can do that. Or I also have an elite. And the elite is $20,000 a year. And I said, give me a year. And he said, you mean mid-level? And I said, no, let's do elite. I need you in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And so he sent me the link. I paid right away. That's how you do it. You tell the universe what you want, and you follow through right away. And so going from 750, I had created within 2 months so much self-worth and self-value that I put 20,000 on the table, and I didn't have any issues with it, because the only reason you are not signing up and not having a coach is because you don't trust yourself to follow through. It is going to work if you do the work, period.
Also, we call it quantum leaping. So this is where she is. Like, what it is, you look at an honest assessment. This is where I'm at. And then you look at where you choose to be. And then there's that gap. So when she's decided, fuck it, here's the 20K, because he said this is what's possible. This is the elite. This is where it's at. And she made that commitment in a split second. I desire to be that. So when she paid it, what happens is, we call it quantum leaping. You close the gap. She just leaped into a new timeline the minute she paid on that link.
I always say you fuse your imagination with the 3D world by taking action. Otherwise, it's just a dream. It's never going to come through.
Yeah, it's called, in quantum physics, it's called quantum leaping.
Yeah.
That's exactly what
Yeah.
it is. Yeah.
Yes.
Quantum
but
leaping, yeah.
to make it easy for people to understand, if you have a desire and you have the impulse in your head and you see somebody, I listened to Wes and I knew immediately, I trusted my gut that I need to do this. By procrastination, and that's his quote, you are basically sleeping on the life that you could have.
Mm-hmm.
You're telling the universe, I want this, but your actions are this. So it's never going to be aligned.
Aligned.
You're never going to get what you want. You always have to align with your conscience, because
that's what differentiates average people
Yes.
from the top 1% of the room.
100%.
From the elite. The elite people are committed to a higher standards and discipline that the rest of the world just sits there and says, that would be nice. One day I'll do it.
one day, tomorrow.
Everything's tomorrow.
Everything is tomorrow. Is January 1st. Everything is after Christmas, after Thanksgiving. And in 10 years, you'll be in the same position, but you will feel more shitty about yourself because you're running in circles.
Yeah.
And evolution is speaking to you from your heart, and you're not listening. You refuse to listen to what's meant for you.
I know right now, like we obviously, there's a whole bunch of people we follow online. most of our people are in our group, but it's interesting to just watch people who are not in our program who just haven't done anything this year. If anything, some people gain weight. They're like in toxic relationships. They're doing the same thing over and over
And
again.
expecting a different outcome.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking the insanity of like, I mean, I get bored like if my furniture's in the same exact place for 3 months. Like I constantly need the next level, new energy, next level, next level. Like people, that's so mental illness is a body not at ease is called disease. Like there needs to be the transformation. There needs to be the next
Dying
level.
is the best thing that can happen to you.
Yeah.
Constantly dying,
Rebirth.
shedding off yourself of the old version and reinventing yourself constantly. We are all meant for it. There's
Yeah.
no question in my head because this feels like life to me. I cannot stop. I'm literally, I'm unstoppable. How could I stop a process like this?
Okay, so tell us what your breakthrough was this year. What was your biggest struggle this year? What was your biggest lesson? And what do you do now? How can you support other people?
Okay.
So
You might
was
have to repeat those. Okay.
So what was your biggest struggle in rebirthing this year?
My biggest struggle was my separation from my husband.
Okay.
And that was my biggest rebirth. My biggest leap.
What was your struggle? What was going on?
So my husband and I separated in April, I believe it was. And I had big issues with it because I came from a family, my parents were divorced and I never wanted that for my children. But I was evolving in such a quick way that the energy of my husband was just holding me back. And I had to make a decision at some point if I am going to continue or just going to keep myself stuck so I can be with him.
Ooh. Oh my God. That for sure is going to be a reel right there. So many people are not living to their potential, to their greatness, to their calling in life because they're with partners.
Yes.
Who aren't leveling up.
Yes.
Who aren't their divine counterpart, but they're willing to sacrifice their light to be dimmed with another human being.
Yes.
I'm so proud of you. That is so courageous and so brave of you to be like,
well, it took me a while. Actually,
me.
I say April. It was June 8th when I was sitting in the sauna. I was working out this entire time. And June 8th, there was a post of Wes sitting in his cell. And the cell didn't have a window. And you can see his back. And there is Jesus on his back, and there is light shining onto it. And he writes, there is literally no window in the cell. And I look at it, and it just took my breath. And I started crying. I started crying so hard. And I wrote him, and I said, Wes, your post today, it makes me cry. I'm sitting here and I'm crying. And he said, it's not about you. That was the moment where I transitioned from, I don't have a choice if I'm going to separate or not. It's not about me. It's about a much bigger picture that I'm not aware of yet. So from that point on, every decision that I make and made was, it doesn't matter how I feel about it. What is right needs to be done regardless. The only thing that I have to figure out is how. That's it, period. Do I get up? Do I eat in a way? Whatever decision I am making, it's very intentional, aligned with what is my calling? What am I supposed to do? And so June 8th, I made that. My husband and I separated. We're co-parenting right now. We're living in one household. We're transitioning slowly with the psychologist and the school. And we are in a very good place. I
watch you guys. You seem super cool.
we're super cool. And what also happened a few months now, for the past 2 months, that Ryan woke up.
Mm.
He needed that.
Really?
Yes.
Ooh.
So now he's doing things that I always wanted him to do. And we're still separating.
Right.
But he's doing it for himself. And it's beautiful to watch. Yes.
That's also a big thing I would like to share is when we transform, when we rebirth, when we do the inner work, there is a vibrational frequency that leaks into everyone that we share energy with. And you're going to find that everyone around you will start to mirror image your transformation over a period of time.
That is true. My kids already, before I had the transition, they were suddenly proud. So they now had not anybody else as a superhero but mom. They spoke at school. Yeah. They spoke at school about me. They were proud that I was working out. I was not drinking, no drugs. I was spending more time with them. I was eating healthy. They were just suddenly proud. There was a different dynamic at home. I was much more present with them. And so my husband liked what he saw. He's always supportive, but it was a little bit of a struggle for him because now I was moving so fast and he was not, and he didn't know how to get there.
Yeah.
So we separated. And from then on, Julian, my youngest one, was still with me, living with me, us, full time, and started going to school mid-August. So I was being a mom and still doing my business and online and everything, which was my story, and I had to figure out how. So doing the work required for me to get up early, and I get up at 2:30 every morning because
I witness it. She's not lying.
every morning at 2:30. It doesn't matter if it's Sunday or Monday or Tuesday or Christmas or Easter or my birthday. I get up because I need to get the job done. The universe doesn't care how you do it. The universe doesn't care that you have 2 kids. Whatever is happening, just make it work. And I find a way, always. I make a way. I don't wait for the stars to line up. I make shit happen.
You're like, fuck Mercury retrograde.
Yeah. I mean, I phrase everything in my head like this is meant for me. Like there is no negative motion in my head anymore. When it happens, I just catch myself and rephrase it. So when you become aware, you're like this third person watching yourself and your own thoughts, and you become in control of them.
Kind of like grabbing the script and like erasing it with an eraser and being like, no, I'm going to rewrite the next scene.
Yes. And the more desires you keep under control, the more you're training your mind to, I do what I want and not what you tell me to do. Your bitch voice is just going to get quieter. It's never going to go away. Every time don't ever think that you're going to get sober. Don't think that you're ever going to always want to go to the gym, that you always want to get out of bed early. Every time you tell yourself, that's my test. That's my test. Do I really want it? How bad do I want it? I really want it really, really, really bad. So for me, there's like non-negotiables now. And so I made that transition. Now, I went to the mastermind, my first one with Wes, in February in California, San Diego.
Oh, the San Diego one. Oh, okay.
Yes, I was the only woman to this day who went onto the court and did the burpees with the guys. And,
I love it.
But I only went there, to be honest, because I wanted to see Wes and his energy. And I knew Wes is so authentic. I knew when you show up with him, you get to know yourself. So if you're off, if you're not aligned, you do not feel comfortable around him. You cannot look him in the eye. You cannot have a conversation because he's mirroring back all of your insecurities and all of your strength. So the first time I went, it was great to just see how far off I was. And I was very fucking far off because I just started his program.
Wait, what came up with you? Like, what were you triggered on, or what was your mirror?
I mean, my mirror was
Because it's obviously not the same now. So that from that in February, what was mirrored back to you to today?
okay.
Because then I know you went to the Miami one and just fucking killed that.
In between was something else. So when I went there, I basically had still lots of fear. First of all, I put myself into a situation around gangsters, which was very uncomfortable and brought a lot of strength to me. So even when I was not where I needed to be, but I made a big step towards the person that I am today. There's no failure. There is only learning and growing for me. So I put myself intentionally into a very, very uncomfortable situation. And then I met Wes, and I could not have a 10-minute conversation with him. I felt awkward because I was so in my head. I was so insecure and selfish, thinking constantly about myself instead of him and the conversation, because you're just very insecure in the beginning. I was just not myself. I was not my authentic self. I had all these layers of bullshit on me that I hadn't shed until just recently.
Right.
It's layers by layers you take off. So I went home. I learned a lot. I always put my head down. I never asked much of Wes. And I kept going with my workouts, and I kept going with what he had given us as a blueprint, how to work and post and do all of that. And he very much wants us to constantly speak on camera. I hated it. I hated speaking on camera more than anything. Nobody likes that. But I always had his words in my head. Nobody likes that. You need to do it, blah, blah. Everything he told me, I just followed. I trusted him, and I just followed. In May or in June, Angie had a theta healing on the compound, on the mansion.
Yeah.
So I went to that, and I met Wes again, and I was a little bit more comfortable, but still couldn't hold up a 10-minute conversation with him. And that was May or June. Then I made the transition in June 8th. And I worked and I worked and I worked, and everything had shifted from I do this for myself to I'm now just serving and doing whatever is necessary. From June to my Miami mastermind, I made such a big jump that I was entirely comfortable around Wes. We were hanging out at his house, and we were like hugging, and
like two peas in a pod.
Yes. I mean,
wow, I love that.
It was just
flow
now,
state.
Yeah,
Like
flow state, and
yeah.
I'm comfortable with myself so much that Wes and I can sit and we can talk about everything for hours. And he saw that, and he knows exactly where it came from, and he said, I just had to post you because I couldn't help but just be proud of you. Just did not stop, because everybody else stops. They just give up because of the obstacles. But I kept always his words in my head. Everything he says is right. People just don't follow it because it's just not always easy. So it's very simple, but not easy. Very simple.
Yeah. Wes is a true testament of what is possible from being at the lowest depths of hell. And that's initially what attracted me to him as a coach, is how he rewrote this story. He rewrote, like, he completely rebranded from this Fallon drug, dealer.
He was the most evil person you can imagine.
Attempted murder or whatever the exact things were, to fucking transforming your life, my life, like my daughter's life, like everyone around me, everyone who's even transformed from my transformation. It's just a trickling effect. And that's when I said, same thing, like, I need a coach with this person. Like, I come from a background as an adult film star of, well, how do I gain people's trust as a coach? How do I rebrand from this person to this person? And, you know, it didn't obviously happen overnight. He legitimately was in his cell, the who, right? Being that transfer. He was being the transformation from the moment he was in the cell to the time he was at his grandma's to today. He's the who. I'm being the transformation. I'm being the inspiration. I'm being. And that for me is just a huge thing, because me learning to, you know, the transformation, like for me, it's not going to be overnight. You know, it didn't happen overnight for him, but he just showed up, and he's 5 years later. Because I find sometimes, like, I can get frustrated, like, oh, it's been 2 years or it's been 6 months. Like, why isn't anything happening? And then I just always remember, he says, guys, I was in the cell like, it took 5 years, you know, it took 4 years, it took 1 year, 2, 3 years to even get to this point. And then I'm always reminded, okay, just be the who. Like, I continue just to be me. Yeah. I continue to serve. I continue to love. I'm going to continue being a transformational coach. And at the right time, the universe is going to put everything together and be like, okay, bitch, you didn't give up. You proved your loyalty. This is who you are. Yes. Now we're going to deliver this. Like, we love Wes. We love Wes.
I do love him.
Definitely.
I do. I have a deep love for him because he's the only person. He's like family to me. He knows that. He's the only person on this planet who reached out. Everybody can celebrate you when you're winning. I was at the lowest. He reached out his hand, and he didn't just say, oh, you got this. He gave me tools.
Yeah.
He gave me tools, and he saved my life, and he gave my children the mom back. So I will be forever thankful.
Yes. We love you, Wes.
We do love you.
Okay. So now, what do you do now? And what are you offering? And how can other women or men get into your world to have their own transformation? Because anyone who gets the privilege of coaching with you, holy fuck. I just had her here overnight, and can I just tell you, she's actually really funny. Like,
yes.
She's very serious in the videos, but she's hilarious. She's fucking funny, and she has the biggest fucking heart. Like, I kept telling my daughter, I was like, she's so serious online. I'm like, but when you meet her, I haven't stopped laughing since you've been here. Like, I just love everything.
I think we have so many facets, right?
Yeah.
So it is very strict with me.
Yeah.
I'm very black and white. There's a right and a wrong version. Now, I live it to the fullest, but I do understand, and I have empathy that people take one step at a time. When you start with me, you start at my mid-level. We get you straight. You get a workout customized to your needs, to your height, to your weight, your goals, and we get what we call macros, a certain amount of fat, protein, and carbohydrates, again, customized towards your goals. We work out 6 days a week, ideally. The 7th day, we have an active rest day. I have a group with all my people in it. We keep each other accountable. We post our photos. I always write on my stories, I write always what's on my heart. You follow me. And in my group, I do the same. So I just believe that everybody is meant for more. And I do not give up until you see that about yourself. So I do spend a lot of time with my clients. As long as I can, I will pour everything into you for you to just believe, because all you're lacking is the belief that you are meant for more. And I swear to God, there's no accidents. You're here, you have a story. There are 100 people waiting for you to step up. Nobody wants to be the leader. It has to be you. You have to step up, and you have to tell your story and how you overcame it, because there are 100 people like you who need exactly that. There are 100 people or millions of people who had my story. They need me. They need my strength. There are millions who need your story, because I haven't been an alcoholic, so I cannot speak on that. And there are millions who went to prison and came out and felt lost. So everybody This is
Yes.
what we're meant to do. You're supposed to go through the struggle that is meant for you to come out the other way and say, this is what worked for me. And you help other people to evolve into their best self. So you start at my mid-level. We get you physically straight. We remove all the vices. And from there, whenever you're ready, there's an elite group. It's one-on-one. We basically, you and me on a Zoom talk once a week where I give you assignments for the week to move forward. And that is magical to watch
It's
with my
the
clients.
best feeling.
When you see people transition, it is
There's like a light that
there's
flickers
a
in their
spark.
eyes.
Yes, it is
Yeah, the light
beautiful.
turns on.
Mm-hmm. And there's no wrong. You have to give it a shot. You have to give yourself the chance, because you don't want to be that person who lays on your deathbed and says, I wish I would have tried. The pain of regret is going to be so big. For $250 a month,
Yeah.
or even less if you commit for a year with me, I think it breaks down to $160 a month. And you're not going to do drugs and alcohol on my program. So all of my clients save money because they're not going to Starbucks anymore, getting their white mocha latte. They're not getting their drugs and alcohol. They're not eating out fast food. So we're cutting all of that out. We need to see a raw version. And the money is the value that you put onto yourself, what you believe you can achieve, because the program is going to work 100%. You just need to commit. It's one decision that we make.
It works if you work it.
Yes, you have to put the effort in.
How can people get a hold of you?
Instagram is the best, quickest, and easiest way. It's Toktam Thomas, Toktam, and then Thomas, Thomas.
The link to her Instagram will also be down in the bio here in the YouTube video.
Yes, shoot me a message and I'll... TT Health, yes, TT Health. You can go on that link and send me a message to my personal phone as well. IG is just...
Really? It goes to your phone? I need to learn that link. I don't have that one. So I know Wes has it too. Text me and I'm like, I need to figure out what you guys are using. I don't have that one.
Yes, you can just write a message and it comes to my phone. But the quickest way is IG. We can do everything through IG or Facebook, whatever you prefer. And because I'm there, I'm on Instagram all day, every day. So I will see your message come through and come in. And it starts $2.99 a month. It goes 3 months, $7.50, 6 months, $12.99. And for a whole year, it's $19.99 if you start on my mid-level.
Right. Okay. Awesome. Yay. Okay. If you are looking to get coached by her, please hit her up on her DM. I am also available for coaching. You can message both of us via DM. I am now doing discovery calls. Thank you. Toktam's been helping me with my coaching as well. So I'm excited. We can jump on a call, see if we're compatible, and then we can create magic, create transformation, create rebirth, get you into the top 1 percentile for 2024, you guys.
Yes.
You guys have been hearing about her transformation. You've been watching my transformation. 2023 was a year you sat and watched. Make 2024 the year you do, you be, and it's the who, you guys. Yes. We love you. DM us. I'm ready. And we're going to respond like this. Let's create magic. We love you. Give this video a thumbs up. Comment down below if this video resonated or you can think of somebody that needed to hear something today. Press the share button. Forward it over to them. Spread the goodness and pass it on.